Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, we're going to be asking the question, will life go back to normal after the pandemic is done? Alright, welcome back. For this video, I want to make sure you like and subscribe. The more likes and subscribers we get, the more content we can make. So, with the vaccines on the horizon and everyone's getting inoculated, will life be different after the pandemic? I think it will, but I think a lot of things are going to go back to the normal 5 years from now. One of the things that I think companies are not going to do is let people work from home as much. Remember, Yahoo did try this and it didn't work out quite well. However, what this means though is that there are some companies that are going to embrace it. So in the future, if you really want to work from home, that's going to be a perk, meaning that you might get paid a little bit less. Now, of course, if you're really good at something like coding or anything, you can always demand a better price. Now, I think the best way going forward, that is, if you really want to hedge your bets against what's going to happen in the future, if you're going to move out of a big city, don't move so far out that a commute would be terrible. You can move to the outer part of the city, but not completely out of the city. Now, if you really think that your job is secure, or you've been really good at securing freelancing work in the last 18 months, then you can move farther out and get a really big property. Now, the other thing that's really cool about this is that there's a lot of companies that are starting up that will build you a work from home office on your property. So you can buy, let's say, a farm, have a really nice house, and you can build an office on there, and you can just basically walk to the office and then walk home. If you do want to do this, I highly recommend separating your office space from your living space. I used to work in a 600 square foot bachelor apartment. I basically did everything in that bachelor apartment, and I highly recommend not doing that. But one of the things about pandemics is that things tend to go back to the normal afterwards. So if 5 years from now, we're not really preparing for the next pandemic, you know something has gone wrong, because this pandemic was fairly devastating to a lot of people, and there always can be another pandemic. Now, this is of course a once in a multi-generational pandemic, but the world is getting more connected every single day. And even though the coronavirus vaccine is very good, it still will take time to make another vaccine if we have another pandemic. Now, believe it or not, this pandemic could have been a lot worse. The coronavirus could have been a lot more deadly than it is, and you need to prepare for that. So one of the things I highly recommend you do is, if you can't afford it, to buy some kind of real estate. If you can buy some kind of real estate, you know that you have some kind of fallback plan, because one of the things the governments did in the last pandemic, which I don't think anyone expected them to do, is they basically made sure that nobody moved out of their home, whether they could support it or not, in this last pandemic. Believe it or not, before this pandemic, there was a lot of things that were really shaky about the economy, and there was a lot of people that were very over leveraged in real estate and other things. And these people probably would have defaulted in 2020 if there wasn't a pandemic. But because of the pandemic, all of the printed money went into papering over that debt, and instead of making that debt for that one person who over leveraged, they moved it to somewhere else. This is clearly evident in the first-time buyers market. A lot of first-time buyers basically papered over all the debt from these people that were a little bit over leveraged. So the other thing is that I think people will stop wearing masks, at least in North America and possibly Europe as well, even though in a lot of Asian countries, people wear masks. Usually it's for pollution. But if you're used to wearing a mask when you're sick, what's the harm of wearing it? Because one of the things I really hate about life is getting sick. And one of the things I really hate about getting sick is the common cold, especially if you have kids. They go to daycare and they bring back the nastiest germs. So if we get a yearly vaccine for the common cold, which is the plethora of viruses that make up the common cold, and we get a little bit less sick, I think that's an absolutely good thing. So will life be different after the pandemic? I think it absolutely will, but a lot of things are going to go back to business as usual, more than people might expect. It might take 5 years or 10 years, but things will eventually get back to normal. Alright, so that concludes this video. I want to make sure that you like and subscribe. The more likes and subscribers we get, the more content we can make. If you really like this channel, you can subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. We release 20 to 60 hours of fresh new content per month, every single month. It helps this channel grow, and it helps out my company, Mammoth Interactive. We have monthly and yearly options. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.